they spoke from their PhD level and they explained the Brahma Vakya or the main Vakya as Aham Brahmasmi. Then they said what they actually meant was the Aham within the human system, the I am within the human system, everywhere this I am exists. That I am itself is the sole Brahma. What we understood is Aham Brahmasmi. I sit here and I say Aham Brahmasmi. You guys understand, okay, this guy is Brahma. Or this Swamiji is Brahma. Or Aham Brahmasmi. I say, okay, he realized something that is Brahma, so he is calling himself as Brahma. Because he realized something, he is calling himself as Brahma, you understand, to a maximum extent. Then what did I understand or what did I realize? The truth is, if at all I have done anything and I am in a state of doing anything, I am not in a state of being, I am. You understand? So, technically no Siddha ever did realize anything, and after that he proclaimed himself as the Brahma. What he actually realized was the truth given straight away. Whatever I am is Brahma. But we understood in a different fashion. Now why am I trying to say this is, I get back to my example of compass. If at all this mind and this bigger magnet soul, if these two have to be aligned, then this magnet has to be freely suspended. Am I clear with you? This magnet has to be freely suspended. But is it freely suspended? That is how I started with personalities. Every time we have a personality, and for example, we as in a relationship with husband and wife, the husband comes with an attitude of an officer. The wife comes with an attitude of a homemaker. Or the wife comes with an attitude of an officer. Now two officers clash and there is a difference in Ushnam, Sitalam. There is an opposite reaction that is forming. Or Sitalam, Ushnam, whatever you say. You understand my intention. For example, we go and do any action, we do action in our own personality phenomena, and it happens in certain fashion, and we say, I prayed my God for it, but it did not happen the right way. Your child will say, Mama, I am jumping down from this platform onto the ground. You please take care of my jump. But I want to jump so that I want to experience, grow and become a He-Man. You know, male kids these days always wants to be a He-Man or Spider-Man, Batman, whatever man. So he wants to jump. Now he says, Mama, you take care, I'm going to jump. You will say, okay, I'll take care, jump. He will say, I'll jump from here to that bag. Then you said, okay, I'll take care of from here to the bag, I'll take care. About to jump, he comes here and he jumps here. Falls down. Then he said, Mama, I asked you to take care, na? I fell down, na? You didn't take care, so you are wrong, he says. Then what will you answer? Who asked you to jump this side? You said you will jump on the back side. Yes or no? In the same fashion, we do an action and we pray to the God, oh God, I want to do this, let me do it better and let me, I want good result. I am playing cricket, oh God, and let me be Shah Rukh Khan, Sachin Tendulkar, whatever. Oh God, I am playing cricket, let me be Sachin Tendulkar, or let me hit 100 century. You go onto the battlefield and you don't play cricket. You immediately dawn upon the personality of crowd looking at me, I am a hero. You immediately dawn upon the personality, okay, one of the personalities you might be dawning, oh, I am the best cricketer, you already assume. Or, now I will play like Sachin. Now you here actually disguise yourself, your mind morphs yourself, or you get influenced, or you imitate somebody, which is actually mental suicide of your own actual existence potential. Yes or no? God promised, okay, you prayed to God that I will play cricket, I want to make a century. Now God is waiting, when will this guy play so that I make him a century? I think you understand. I will say, oh God, I am playing cricket, please let me make a century. The God says, okay. Jesus Christ always said, you ask and immediately I shall give forth. Sai Baba, the greatest guru of mankind, said, the moment you ask for help, immediately I will start giving you help. Now I say, hey Sai Baba, I am playing cricket, please let me make century. Okay, I go to the field and say, oh, people are looking at me, wow, I am a hero now. Or people, I am like this, now I will play like Sachin Tendulkar, now I will be like this. We have our own attitude or we have our own personality. Then Sai Baba from the top would be looking and saying, I want to play cricket, so that guy, that true potential should play cricket. When that guy is played, definitely I will make him do century. Now he will be searching, beta तुमने तो I play किया ही नहीं है, तुम play किया ही नहीं, तुम सचिन का imitate कर रही थी या तो hero बन के खेल रहा था. You are playing as a hero or you are playing as a Sachin or you are playing as somebody, but you are not I and normally playing. So I was waiting for the chance. So you did not make century, now you don't come back to me and complain, why you didn't help me make a century? If at all this so happens, don't you think there is a possibility that this kind of problem do occur in our daily life? So why we do not have peace, bliss, tranquility, why this magnetic potential called mind is not aligned to the universal magnetic potential called soul? And why is this mind, a magnetic potential, not able to express or behave in its own fullest potential, though being guided eternally by the infinite cosmic potential? Why is it still suffering? Is because it is still restrained in its own concepts and it is not yet freed. Now what is freedom again we need to consider? No, we should not consider. Because the mind has to be freed, then only it can be happy, that we discuss. Then what is mind's freedom? You are technically having mind's freedom now, right now, because sitting here as I am talking, you can think whatever you want. You can think about heroines, you can think about cricketers. As I am talking Vedanta, you don't actually, just because I am talking Vedanta, there is no rule that you are listening to it. Me talking is not equal to you listening. Yes or no? So, they say in Vedantic Darshana Shastra that the existence of, by just mere looking at the smoke, we can infer that there is fire. Because wherever there is smoke, there is fire. But wherever there is smoke, there need not be fire, because fire can be extinguished and still the smoke be present. But wherever there is smoke, there is fire, technically. Now, but where there is fire, there cannot be smoke. It's actually a very simple system, but it looks very complex where there is smoke, there is fire. Yes or no? Only out of fire smoke comes. Good. Where there is smoke, the fire need not be there. Fire is extinguished. After that also smoke is existing there. Now, just because there is fire, there need not be smoke, because smokeless fires do exist. Yes or no? So all these three are correct. But generally where there is fire, there is smoke, and where there is smoke, there is fire. In Vedanta Darshana, they explain in such a fashion. That is the reason why people don't understand Vedanta. Or they go mad with Vedanta. What they are finally, they can't put it straight. Actually, anything cannot be put it in straight, because anything which is put straight will always be encircled or which always be jeopardized by our own mind. Because our mind is not in a position to take anything straight.